we want to adjust our expectations. Your dog does not need to be the life of the party, certainly. It certainly does not even need to greet the guests. Your dog doesn't even need to like your guests. That shouldn't be the bar that we're setting for the dog. The bar that we should be setting for the dog is that they're comfortable, that they still feel safe and secure within their own home. If you have an innately unconfident dog, they're never going to be social butterflies. Oh, stranger danger! Today we are talking about helping your nervous dog feel safe around your guests in your home. A common question I get. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It's Tracy from Beyond Obedience. Welcome to the podcast. So happy that you're here. Hey, quick question for you. Are you somebody that has a dog that doesn't really like people coming over? Do you have that dog? You know, the dog that maybe panics because your friends are coming over, can't seem to calm down, barking, all of this stuff. If you have that dog, that really struggles with people being inside your house, this episode is for you. Okay, let's just jump right into this today. So, why are dogs nervous around house guests, especially fearful dogs, especially when you've been doing all the hard work, you've been following all of the things we've talked about here on the podcast, the idea of building a comfort zone, and you're expanding their world slowly, and you're building trust with you, and then you're getting them to trust the situations you put them in and all that stuff. You're doing all the good work. Why is having guests over such a challenge for our fearful dogs? Well, I'm glad you asked. The reason for it actually is because of all that hard work that you've been doing. Now, if we step back a little bit, we talk again about how dogs process fear, how they like to have their comfort zone. You've been working so hard to build trust with you, to build a pattern of predictability, and inside your home is now your dog's comfort zone. Perhaps you started off in a crate, but now you've worked really hard. Your dog's really comfortable. They know everybody in the house. They understand the patterns, the schedules. They're really starting to settle in and get comfortable. When we invite a guest inside that comfort zone, we destroy that pattern of predictability. And that's why our dogs struggle so much, which is why the very first thing that I will say to you is that even if, let's say you started off and your dog was only comfortable in a crate or only comfortable in the small room or whatnot, and you've been building and building and building so that your dog feels more and more comfortable in your home, it's always advisable to keep that crate, that tiny little space that is just theirs. That's the one space in the world that is only for them. Keep that out. I still have crates in my home. The doors are left open, but the dogs choose whether or not they want to go in there. And in particular, my people fearful dog Rue will quite often choose the crate over hanging out when we have guests over. Now she's at a stage of her life where, her house is still her comfort zone. But when people come in, she'll be like, I don't really want to be a part of this. And she goes on her own and she makes a choice to sleep in her crate. Because at the end of the day, the strangers are unpredictable. From your dog's perspective, right? Guests are unpredictable. Lots of them are going to make direct eye contact. That's a given. I mean, we're going to talk about the things that we're going to do to set your guests up for success. But honestly, they're going to look at them because your dogs are cute. And that direct eye contact is going to make them really, really uncomfortable. They might move in in a different way. They might smell differently than what they're used to. All of these things make it very unpredictable for them. We know that they don't like that. And the other thing too, if I'm being honest, if you've been working on this for a while, the other thing too is how we are behaving, right? Because dogs rely on us to set that tone. So if we're kind of anxious about it, or maybe even frustrated, maybe you're frustrated, like, gosh, I just want to have my friend over, right? Who knows? But if whatever tone it is that you have, you're setting that tone for your dog. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on, but we tend to make it weird. Like the training process, what we think we're doing to train the dog, we tend to make it weird. It's not natural. So it ends up backfiring on us. So how do we set our dogs up for success, right? How do we do this? First and foremost, we want to adjust our expectations. Your dog does not need to be the life of the party, certainly. It certainly does not even need to greet the guests. Your dog doesn't even need to like your guests. That shouldn't be the bar that we're setting for the dog. The bar that we should be setting for the dog is that they're comfortable, that they still feel safe and secure within their own home. If you have an innately unconfident dog, they're never going to be social butterflies. Okay. Now, I also want you to adjust the expectations of your guests. And this is important. And it's the hardest thing. Listen, when I talk about, people that are going through the fearful dog, we go through a lot of different scenarios, and we do something called the Build Your Brave protocols for those scenarios. But we have what to do when the dog has a fear of an inanimate object. That's the easiest. Then we talk about, when your dog has a fear of other dogs. That's actually not as hard as the last one, which is your dog has a fear of people. And the reason why it's the hardest is because people, they don't listen. They just don't listen. And don't get me wrong, it's well-intentioned. I'm not saying these are bad people, but no matter how many times I have said the words, like, please just ignore the dog. Don't talk to the dog. Don't touch the dog. I've done all of that stuff. Inevitably, when I'm not looking, I'll look back and there's that person just sticking their hand out, like, go ahead and smell me. Like, I mean you no harm. They want so badly for the dog to like them, right? And so I think it's important when our guests come over to set up proper expectations. And the expectation is we don't expect the dog to like you. Don't take it personally. It's not you, it's me. Let's just say that. It's not you, it's me. We don't need the dog to like you. So the goal isn't to be like, the goal should never be to touch the dog. Please don't make that a goal, right? And definitely the dog doesn't have to like you, right? You know what a great goal would be is if the dog came in, sniffed everybody, and then went and laid down in their crate and was calm and confident the whole time, just was okay with everybody being in their space. That would be a great ending to having guests over, right? And so it's important that we make sure that our guests understand that, because I tell you, I think it's us. Like, honestly, I think it just hurts our feelings and the amount the amount of times I have run into people that have been like, it's okay, dogs really love me. And I'm like, that's nice. But if you really love dogs, you would understand how inappropriate your behavior is. Right? Don't stick your hand in my dog's face and tell me that you're really good with dogs. That's not it. You know what I'm saying? It's not it. Anyway, all right. The second thing that I want you to keep in mind is I don't want you to change things up dramatically, right? Don't start setting up this precedent like, I'm having guests over, so I'm gonna go out and get this, whatever thing, and I'm gonna get like chew toys for the dogs. I'm gonna do all that, because the dog then will actually start to figure out that when you start doing those things, that means somebody's coming over, and it actually starts the cycle of anxiousness earlier and earlier and earlier. So rather than like, I'm going to go out and get, a snuffle mat. Is that what they're called? I don't even have one. Snuffle mat? Whatever. I back in my day, we just stuffed Kongs. That's probably still a thing, right? Rather than go and get those things, ahead of time and, be like, we got all the stuff to like, make sure the dog's okay. We've got treats we're chopping up chicken wieners to give to the guests and all that stuff. Your dog will actually start to pick up on those cues to be that something's happening, like, like they're like, oh, damn, something's going down because you're being weird about it. So don't change things around. Still take your dog on the same routine. Still like act the same. Still take your dog for the walk. All of that stuff. I mean, if you want to get like a chew for them to like, have something to do if they're going to hang out in their crate, do that. But don't do it like, every time you get a friend come over, every time you do that. Dogs are really good at picking up on patterns. And they will start to pick up that every time you act like this, it means somebody's coming. And you're going to start to see anxiety start sooner and sooner and sooner before your guests come. Okay? Before your guests come, before they come, we're going to say things like, hey, just so you know, trying to get my dog used to you. Here are the rules. Don't look at them. Don't touch them. Don't talk to them. I'm going to do this, right? When you knock on the door, if my dog's barking, going crazy, just give me a few minutes because I'm going to calm the dog down. It's your friend. They're going to be fine, right? They'll know, especially if you explain it ahead of time. Just give me a few minutes and I'm going to get the dog set up. And then take those minutes, right? You're going to ask the people that when they come in, okay, when they come in, we're going to do the whole like, just come in and say hello like you normally would. Okay, don't make it weird. Don't make it weird. Like, here's what I'm trying to say. When I tell people to not look at the dog, people, for some reason, will look up at the sky. Like, they'll make an exaggerated effort to not look at the dog. Like, they'll look up at the sky. And then they're just kind of standing there all stiff, like, I don't want to look at the dog, right? And my point is, don't make it weird. Don't, like, it's just come in, say hello. Now, let's talk about the initial greeting. Like, let's get into this because there's a couple of options here. As I mentioned, this is part of our Build Your Brave protocol. And, we fine tune this for each individual person. So it's not going to be a one size fits all. But let's talk about what we want as a general goal for this experience. First and foremost, you want to get control of the energy before you open the door. Okay? What we don't want is they knock on the door. Your dog goes, bark, 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 bark. And you're going, shh, 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 okay. You're getting all freaked out and panicked. That's why I'm saying, tell your guest that's coming over, give me 10. Give me 10 minutes, right? Just stand, like knock like you normally would, but just stay out there. Let me get everything under control. And your options are this. You have options, right? If your dog has obedience commands, you could use like a place command or that sort of thing if you know for sure that the dog is going to stay there. I caution those kind of things unless you've actually done the whole work on place command, meaning the dog understands when I'm on place, I'm supposed to be calm. Most don't get there if I'm being 100. Most people that teach place command, it's just the same as a sit and a wait. And the problem with sit and wait, especially for our fearful dogs, is sitting and waiting is torturous for fearful dogs because that anxiety and that fear just builds in them and now they feel stuck, right? They can't escape the fear, so it just kind of builds in them. So unless your dog knows that place command means go calm down, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. But if your dog is a dog that is going to be banana beans crazy and flinging themselves at the door and all of that stuff, then I would remove them if you aren't able to control them with a leash. Okay. I would say the ultimate goal for me would be to practice this door etiquette to be when someone knocks on the door, whether or not it's a guest or the pizza delivery person, when someone knocks on the door, what do you want the dog to do? If you have a dog that's running up and barking like a crazy banana beans dog, whether it's out of fear or not, I want to know what is it that you want them to do. So at our front door, we have a leash. Like we have a hook with a slip leash. It's actually at both of our doors. So if I have a dog that's not paying attention, I can easily just quietly go down, slip the leash on them, ask them to come back upstairs, ask them to wait or stay. Or if they're really going bananas, I usually put them in a bedroom because I'm like, I can't deal with that, especially if it's just the pizza delivery. As if that happens here. I live out in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember the last time I've had any food delivered to me ever. That's a sidebar. Anyway, so you want to think about that when it's your guest as well. Ideally, I would like to have it so that the dog is with you, so that you can place the dog calmly behind you. The dog just sits there, observes that you're okay with this person. You greet them, you let them in, and all of that stuff. But if you're not there yet, and your dog is just losing their ever-loving mind, then removing them from the entranceway is probably a better idea, because the entranceway has so much around it. It has so much energy and emotional baggage around it, right? There's excitement at the door. It's a threshold. There's an unknown on the other side. There's also a stranger on the other side. Sometimes the door means we're going out for a walk. Like, there's so much energy around it that if you can't control the dog's energy before you ever open the door, you shouldn't open the door. Okay? So if yours is a dog that you have to remove them from the room, then easy peasy. You say hello to your guest. They take off their shoe. You give them a hug, high five, whatever it is you do. And then you invite them in to wherever you're going to settle and sit. You're sitting at the kitchen table. You're sitting in the living room, whatever you're doing. At that point in time, once your guests are in and settled, then I would, on a leash, bring my dog in if they wanted to. So depending on what kind of fear we're dealing with, if this is a dog that comes sort of flying out and tries to intimidate people, then it's a short leash. If it's a dog that is really nervous and has to go through the approach and retreat, then I use a longer leash, and no like coaxing. Like, I'm not trying to, like, come on, let's go see. I don't talk. Please don't talk to the dog. And please don't say things like, let's go see. I don't like that. I don't know why. I mean, you can if you want. What am I talking about? You can do whatever you want. It's your dog. But I personally don't like it. I know that you're trying to be like, it's fine, it's so-and-so. But at the same time, your body language and energy and actions will speak louder than your words. So try to just be like, come into the room, let the dog sort of go through the approach and retreat. So that's obviously the next step. Allow for the natural approach and retreat. The reason why I want a longer line than just a 6-foot leash is because we want to see how much space does this dog need, right? Maybe it's on a 20-foot line and you come in the room and he stays in the doorway and he's like, I don't even want to come into that living room. That's fine. He can stay out there. No pressure on him. You just come in, you hold the leash, you sit down in the chair, you start talking to your guest. And we wait and we see, and we remind our guests, we're not going to be weird about it. Please don't look at the dog. Let's just talk to me. Let's just see what this dog does. And when the dog does feel comfortable enough to come in and approach and retreat, know that it's going to look like they're going to come in. They're going to kind of maybe sniff. They might kind of put their head down, like, what's going on? Then they might leave again. Then they might come in. They might come in at a different angle. They might come in over here. They might come in back here. They're going to approach and retreat different angles. They're checking all the different threat levels. They may even go right up, stretch their neck really, really far to kind of get a good smell. And your person, your human, is not going to touch them. You're just going to keep talking. Okay, just keep having a conversation. Right. As I say, and I have to keep reiterating this, don't make it weird. Don't have your guests look up at the sky. Don't have them sit there stiffly and get all nervous, like, okay, he's coming up to me, what do I do? Just keep talking. And for the love of, don't try to pet the dog. The dog gets close enough to you. Tell your guests, if they have to sit on their hands, do not stick your hand out for the dog to smell. Just don't. Because that sticking your hand out, if they are not at the end of their fear approach and retreat cycle, you're going to set them back and they're not going to want to come up again. Like, it's just don't. Just sit. Just again, don't be weird about it. Now, let's say your dog has gone through the approach and retreat and they decide that they want to settle in beside you. That's fine, right? They lie down, they seem to be okay. They might lift their head up a couple times. It's good. It's all good. And you're like, okay, he's done it. He's over it. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not over it. He's over that part. Okay. I will tell you right now, because this happens 99% of the time. If your guest goes to get up to go to the bathroom or whatever, your dog is going to freak out again. They're going to startle. They might back up. They might start barking. All of that stuff. That's going to happen again. That's why you're still going to be sitting on that leash. Like, you're still going to have that leash on you. Right? But here's the thing. It's normal for them to do it. And here's why. Your guest is a much different threat level if they are standing versus when they are sitting. And if this dog, especially if this dog wasn't in the room because you couldn't get the dog under control and you wanted to let your guest in first and you brought the guest in, or you brought your dog in after the guest had settled down and was sitting, now all of a sudden when they stand up, they're a much bigger threat. It changes everything for the dog. This is why they freak out again. So what do you do about it? Well, you calmly get up and you ask your dog to go back behind you. You can, if you want to, say, you're fine, or I got this. You can do that if you want to. But remember, your body actions are louder than your words. So make sure your body is saying, I got this. It's fine. This would be also one of the things I would pre-warn your guest about. Just be like, just so you know, if you have to get up, let me know. Just realize he's probably going to freak out again. No big deal. You can even explain why, like he's going to freak out because you're standing up versus sitting down, whatever. It just takes him a little bit. Same thing, though. They are to get up. Don't look at that dog. Don't directly walk towards the dog. Okay. If that's the direction of the bathroom, you as the handler need to move your dog in a way that they don't feel like this person is walking at them to walk past them, because dogs don't see that. They don't go, oh, he's just going to the bathroom. He just has to go by me. They don't see that. They just see the big scary thing that they're uncomfortable about is now coming at them. So move your dog out of the way, tell them that's fine, all of that good stuff. Let your guest go to the bathroom. Then when they come back in, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to stand up and be like, you're good, right? The guest sits down again. And everybody takes a great big deep breath and a sigh. And then we go back to maybe he's got to start it again. Maybe he's got to go up again. Maybe he's got to back up again, all of that stuff. But just let him do it. Just let them do it. I want you to always keep in mind when your dog goes through the fear cycle and they have the win, when they go through it and they have the win, that gets life layered. That becomes part of it gets in their brave bank. They get to mark that down the brave bank. Like, I did it. I was terrified of that person, but I didn't die. And look what I did. Like, they get to keep that score. Let them keep that score. Okay. All right. Now, what if your dog is still struggling? What if they're just not getting it? Well, I think if that's the case, we need to back up a bit. For those of you that are in the fearful dog, you know that I talk a lot about the 3 steps to building trust with the dog and how those are fluid. And sometimes you get past step 1, you're on to step 2, and you realize, oh, nope, got to go back to step 1 and work on some things. Go back to step 2. Oh, no, still back at step 1. We don't take offense to it. We don't think it's a backslide. We just have to take a step back to where your dog is comfortable, and we build from there. It might just mean that we moved a little bit too quickly. We made some assumptions that the dog was feeling more comfortable than they were. Whatever it is, we know that we have to, just take a step back. Right? It may mean that we have to put the dog away. If you have to have a guest over, it may mean we have to put the dog away. It may mean that we do have to resort to like snuffle mats or Kongs or whatnot to try to keep the dog occupied, and we'll work on it in a different way. Maybe the next time we go for a walk with our friend, We say, look, how about you knock on the door? We'll go through the green ritual, but then we'll go outside and we'll go for a walk and we'll let the dog walk behind you so they can get a lot of good smells and all of that good stuff. I think the other thing too that I want to point out when it comes to guests in the house is that if you're going to put in the time, to do this, let's do it for the people we really want in the house. It's going to sound weird when I say it this way, but what I mean by that is I don't go through any of this effort if I have, somebody that is, it's a one-off guest in my home, right? Or if it's a repair person, coming into my home, I don't even let my dogs meet them because they don't need to. Why do they need to? I put my dogs away. I'm like, it's easier. They're out of the way of the repair person. And so they're not tripping over them. Plus, I don't have to go through all of this, the approach and retreat for someone who's just coming in to repair my furnace. I don't need that. But if it's like a one-off, I'm probably not going to do this much effort. Where I would do it for is for the people that matter, the people that I want in my dog's life, the people that I do want to come and visit all the time. And as I say, once you have that, like for me, it's my neighbor, Alan. He comes over. He hasn't come over for tea in a while, but for a while there was coming over to, for tea once a week. And he was constantly over here helping me out around the house and all of that. So it was something that was worth investing the time in to get Rue used to him. And she is now. As I mentioned, she still doesn't quote unquote like him. She doesn't want to hang out with him. The dogs all bark when somebody comes over. She barks like everyone else. And then when he sits down and we're having our tea, you'll see her come in. She'll still do the approach and retreat. And for a while, she'll sit, about 8 to 9 feet away from him, just staring at him, like usually from underneath a coffee table, just like, I don't think I trust you yet. And then she gets up and she goes into her crate. And that I know that she's more comfortable there. She doesn't have to be a part of it. She doesn't have to be startled by, his intonations and his speech patterns and all that stuff, like things that are unusual for her. She doesn't have to be a part of it. And that choice is hers. But that's where we're at. It didn't start that way. When it started that way, I had to bring her out on a leash and I had to tell Alan, I'm like, with Rue, and if you haven't heard me talk about Rue, Rue has really unusual eyes. She's a red merle Australian Shepherd. She has very unusual eyes. They're very, very pretty. And it's her biggest downfall because people want to look in her eyes. They all do the same thing. And as much as I will say to people, like, please don't look at her eyes. They're going to look at her eyes. And then she gets really uncomfortable. But it's the cross that Rue has to bear. Just her gorgeous, gorgeous eyes. But that's, I put the work in there because this is somebody who's my neighbor and he was around all the time and I love having him over and I want to put the work in, but I wouldn't do it for someone who's one off, going to be visiting for a little bit. I don't do it for that. For my kids, my kids' friends that are coming over all the time. Yeah, I did the work. I do the work to help them feel comfortable around my kids' friends. But choose your battles, choose your friends, that kind of a thing. So final thoughts, and all of this is essentially, this was a lot. And there was a lot of if it's this, then do this. If it's that, then do that. Here's the bottom line. This is part of my Build Your Brave protocols, and it's found inside the Fearful Dog Fearless Framework program, where we actually design your Build Your Brave protocol for house guests, if that's an issue for you. So when you join this program, we actually will tailor this program to your dog's specific needs and comfort zones. And I even offer, for people really struggling, I even offer you, you give me a video of what your house looks like. I will tell you where to put the dog, how to put the dog, depending on how the setup of your house is. Because everybody's house is different. And the levels, and I've talked about levels before, levels in your house matter. So if you need help designing your Build Your Brave protocols for your fearful dog, I highly recommend you join us in the Fearful Dog Fearless Framework. It's a great program with a fantastic community, and you get monthly Q&As and some individual one-on-one help for sure. If you reach out in the group and you want me to help you design your Build Your Brave protocol, that's what I do. That's what gets done in there. So How do you do that? You're going to go to beyondobedience.ca/fearless. beyondobedience.ca/fearless and get your spot inside that amazing program and community and start building your dog's brave protocols today so that you can have a peaceful life with your dog. Sounds great, doesn't it? Listen, if you liked this podcast, can you do me a favor and take 5 seconds and give me a 5-star written review on Apple? It really does help to push the podcast out. If you're not on Apple, just give a rating on Spotify, on Audible, wherever you can, or shout it out on your socials to your friends. Let them know that I'm here, that I want to hang out with more dog lovers like you and I. And as always, get out there today, my friend, and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you're amazing. And so do I. Have a fantastic day. Build your brave protocols. I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.